Okay, now we're going to talk about compound interest. For example, suppose you have $500 earning 3% interest every year for 20 years. What will it become? And what I mean by 3% each year is that at the end of the year, that you get 3% added onto your $500, and the next year you get 3% compounding that. So not just on the 500 again, but you get a little bit more interest the next year. I am ashamed to admit that once upon a time I thought that you had to do 20 steps on this. Now, first of all, we know that, so at the end of the first year, we have what? We have the original $500, and then we get our interest. Woohoo, it's interest day. We get our 500 times 0.03. And you can crunch that out, let's crunch that out. And that is, what is it? 500 times 0.03 is that $15. So you add that to the 500 and you get $515. So you have $515 at the end of the first year. At the end of the second year, we have $515 plus the interest on $515. And then, which will be more than $515. In fact, you'll get more than $15 in interest. If this was $15, then this is going to be a little bit more than $15. So it's going to be more than $530. And then the third year, you get even more. I've written computer programs that chugged this sort of thing out before I realized, oh my goodness, look at this. You can factor 500 out of this. This is 500 times what? Times 1 to give you the 500, and times 0.03 to get you that. That is 500 times 1.03. Just like multiplying by 1.0625 takes your number and increases it by the 6.25% Massachusetts sales tax, multiplying by 1.03 gets 103% of the thing. It takes you your money, keeps your money, and then adds 3% to it. So the second year, what do? We take that number, whatever that is, 515, and you multiply that by another 3%. So at the end of the second year, you have 500 times 1.03 times 1.03. And at the end of the third year, you have 500 times 1.03 times 1.03. That's the amount of money you had at the end of the second year. How do you, with a single multiplication, increase something by 3%? You multiply it by 1.03 again. Hey, there's a shortcut here. It's called 500 times 1.03 cubed. And so at the end of 20 years, you got it. It's going to be 500 times 1.03 to the 20th power. And that is 1.03. You have to do the exponent first, and that's not working. 1.03. You raise that up to the 20th power. Pa-ching. You multiply that by 500, and it is $903.06. I'm going to round up. 903.06. So that is 903.06. So I know you waited 20 years and you only got $403.06 in interest. Well, yeah, $400 waiting 20 years for $400 does sound kind of pathetic, but think of it as a percent. We've almost doubled our money. And what did we do for doubling that money? We sat on our butts. We didn't have to work at all to double our money. And fine, $400 isn't that much, but if this is a percentage type thing. If this had been $500 million that you started with, you would have gone up to $900 million. So you could make $400 million in 20 years by sitting on your butt. Unfortunately, oh man, these kinds of problems are so much more fun when there's real interest available. You can't get 3% interest these days. But enough of that. Let me come up with the general formula. The general formula is the general formula for compound interest is F equals A 1 plus R to the YN. F is the final amount, the amount of money you're going to end up with after your money's been in the bank for a long time. A is the initial amount, the amount of money you started with, the amount of money that you put in the bank and let ride for so long. N is the number of times compounded each year. What does that mean? N equals 1 means yearly. N equals 4 is called quarterly. The most popular ones are N equals 12, which is called monthly, and N equals 365, which is called daily. N equals 52 would be weekly, but I don't know too many people who do things weekly, but whatever. Y is the number of years. And R, here's the thing. R is the APR, the annual percentage rate. The annual percentage rate divided by N. This is called the periodic interest. And this is what throws people a lot. If you are getting 3% interest a year, 3% interest compounded, let's say, monthly. What is 3% compounded in monthly? You don't get the 3% each month, you get 3% each year. Each month you get 0.03, because 0.03 is the same thing as 12. 0.03 is the same thing as 3%, divided by 12. Let's see, you can divide top and bottom. So this is 0.01 over 4, which is 0.0025. So you get a whole lot less interest, but you get it 12 times a year. I will do the examples as separate files.